This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. I'm Marek Mazurek. A $75 million federal pilot program has landed its first group of 16 companies that have committed to setting up operations in Greene County. The Munitions Campus program will be established on a portion of the planned National Security Industrial Hub, a more than 1,100-acre development in Bloomfield. The Texas-based American Center for Manufacturing and Innovation is developing the Munitions Campus. The U.S. Department of Defense says it's designed to support multiple emerging domestic businesses that will reduce cost and lower barriers to entry.
And there's a big catalyst in Bloomfield is the adjacency to Crane and all that that community is providing to our nation. And so we've seen significant demand from companies wanting to be close to Crane and to work with Crane, and also the benefits that Indiana has to offer.
That's Simon Shoemaker, head of development for ACMI Properties. ACMI says the 16 companies planning to come to the Munitions Campus represent a variety of specialties with defense applications, including aerospace engineering, material science, advanced manufacturing, and artificial intelligence. While the investments being made by each individual company aren't yet known, ACMI said the pilot program could stimulate $600 million in private investment. Utility companies in Indiana will now have increased tax incentives and cost recovery mechanisms to pursue small modular nuclear reactor projects, as Governor Mike Braun last week signed Senate Enrolled Act 424 into law. The legislation gives a 20% tax credit for energy companies on costs related to developing small modular nuclear reactors, or SMRs. Another key contentious provision lets investor-owned utility companies recover costs on SMRs from Hoosier ratepayers. The bill specifies that utility companies can seek reimbursement for planning, design, and construction costs on SMR projects. There are currently no completed SMR projects anywhere in the U.S., though Indiana Michigan Power says it has applied for a federal grant to explore building an SMR in Rockport. The legislation was carried by Senator Ed Cook and Representative Ed Soliday, both Republicans. The Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission will have to approve SMR projects, and utility companies will only get cost recovery if the IURC deems the costs, quote, reasonable and necessary. The new law allows utility companies to recover 80% of their costs on an approved SMR project within 3 years, while the other 20% can be recovered through general rate increase requests. In February, Braun made comments to Wish TV saying he was apprehensive about putting the risk all on ratepayers. But more recently, Braun has taken a stance designed to position Indiana as a nuclear-friendly state. Last week, Indiana was selected to host a national retreat dealing with nuclear power and education. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
To succeed, you need to stay informed. You need to be engaged. And let's face it, you need to set yourself apart from the rest by connecting with a company that brings you the best. Because in today's environment, business is an ever-moving target, and we'll help you chase it. IBJ Media. The best of business is in us. Get started at ibjmedia.com/youngprofessional.
U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert Kennedy was in the Hoosier State Tuesday to help Governor Mike Braun announce a new initiative. Braun signed a series of 9 executive orders to, quote, make Indiana healthy again. For a detailed rundown of the plan, head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. In total, the orders seek to add work requirements for SNAP recipients and otherwise add increasing screening of those receiving aid through the federal program. Braun is also signing a waiver to remove candy and soft drinks from SNAP benefits. Other measures include bringing back the governor's fitness test in Indiana schools and commissioning studies around obesity and food additives. Many of the initiatives Braun is calling for have been stances championed by Kennedy at the national level. During his talk in Indianapolis, Kennedy spoke at length about chronic illness, especially diabetes, and how it can be reduced through healthier food consumption. Braun's adaptation of his national platform, he said, speeds up the cultural change they are hoping to enact. Indiana joins Arkansas as one of the first states to request candy and soda food stamp changes. The U.S. Department of Agriculture would need to approve a state's waiver to restrict those items. Carmel Mayor Sue Finkman is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC. a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Marek Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand.